to the Navigating the Cosmic Shift audio podcast with ancient philosophy mystic and energetic healer, Dale Allen Hoffman.
Episode 2.
We're trying so hard to be something that we already are. Because what the old paradigm is, the old paradigm creates this great persona. It creates this great persona that's happy and healthy and affirms a new earth into existence. It affirms only positivity and light. Well, there's an interesting side thing to that. A new earth isn't affirmed into existence. It doesn't happen from your affirmations, okay? It actually happens when you allow yourself to be openly expressed through as the cosmos. It's when you get your own persona out of the way. And if you want to have any kind of an affirmation, try this. I am wholly open. It's the holding on that is giving us all of these cracked cups in the world. I say that because I also mentored with Stuart Wilde for many years. He wrote a book called Miracles that's amazing. Sixth Sense, Whispering Winds of Change. And Stewie used to always say, the universe, God, doesn't care what your order is. If you put in an order for a cracked cup, you're going to get back a cracked cup, and then you're going to complain about why your cup is cracked. And you don't get what you want. You do not get what you desire. You only get what is obvious to you. The word manifest, manus festus. Manus, hand, festus, obvious. As obvious as my own hand, obvious. So you can do your affirmations about a holy, beautiful life, and I'm fully loved in all areas of your life. Your affirmations will encapsulate about 2% of your iceberg. But as you're rattling the 2%, the 98% starts what? Melting, and the iceberg starts rising. So what we're told to do in the New Age is to hold on to that 2%, continue affirming it, continue convincing yourself of something that you already are, and turn away from the darkness, which means to turn away from the feminine, to turn away from the experiential. If I had a battery, let's say this is a battery, okay? This is positive and this is negative. What happens if I take all the negativity out of my life? What happens to the power? Gone, there's nothing there. Is there anybody that can come up and with a battery, show me where it changes from positive into negative? Is there anybody that can locate that for me in a battery? It doesn't exist. Why?
They're
Part of each other. Synthesizes, you're saying, or? They work together? Well, if they work together and they're part of each other, I'd still be able to find they're not two different things. Is the answer to that. There's not a positive and negative, masculine, feminine, light, dark, awake, asleep, alive, dead. If I went into the dark bathroom, is there anybody that could show me where the light stops and it turns into darkness? So when we go out there and we talk about being positive, what we're actually doing is we're shutting off half of our soul. We're shutting off half of our experience. Positive is masculine. It's like an arc of electricity. It's a serpent of light. The positive, the Christos, written originally with a letter that looked like that. When people are offended by Xmas, they tell me they don't know the roots of their own religion because it was originally written with what looks in English like an X. Nice. So, and that's actually how it was written affectionately by the church for many centuries. But when we're completely focused on the masculine, that arc of electricity that creates and it just snaps everything in its wake, and I'm not going to mention anything about the White House, something that's so ultimately masculine, completely unaware of itself, and all it wants to do is just shock and awe everything that it can touch. What it's actually negating is the magnetism, which is the feminine she nests in upon herself. The feminine is the womb. She's what in Old French was called Graal. Does that word sound familiar? Graal. She's the Grail. Grail means the earthen receptacle that holds the essence of divinity. What is the essence of divinity? The essence of divinity is Christos / Ra, same thing. The Christ light is held by the womb. The Christ light is the serpent that moves up in the midbar through the 7 demons. I'm going a little bit deep and wide here, but that is held by the midbar, and the midbar is the feminine. But all we're doing is focusing on that which creates and the masculine. It's all about that. You got to do this, you got to do that, you got to create that. So one of the byproducts of the New Age, and I'm not saying it's all bad per se, is you create a persona and then you market that persona. And then since I was 19 years old, I started meeting a lot of people behind the curtain that were really well-known speakers. And we're talking back in 1991. And they weren't often what was marketed. Let's just put it that way. That's okay. I get it. But the new paradigm isn't about marketing personas. It's about not creating a masked persona that you market, but rather being open to allow that to come through you. To be able to realize that the old maps don't work anymore. The religion and the philosophy, it's nice, but we're in places now. I said for years where it was as if we were walking on tectonic plates, and you had to be very conscious and open as those plates were shifting. But we're not walking on plates anymore. We're literally walking on water now. We're in a fluidity. And you're trying to find some sense of meaning. You're trying to find some sense of how you fit in. How come the old things that I've been doing for decades don't really work anymore? It's because you're still holding on. There's a great word. In Aramaic, matita. In Greek, the word is parousia. Parousia. The para sound means beyond or transcend. The second sound, ousia, means matter. Do you know what it was translated as in the Greek New Testament? Second coming. Second coming. What it actually means is to transcend matter, move beyond matter. It also means presence. The first coming was on a physical level. The second level is on the level of presence. And that's what's happening for us. The world, literally, and it doesn't matter, it's a funny thing actually, NASA's saying that they feel that time and space are speeding up, but they can't get outside of it for enough of a period of time to be able to monitor that in such a way that they can convince themselves that time and space are speeding up, because all of their equipment speeds up along with it. So they can't get outside of it to monitor it. Interesting thing. Time and space are literally ripping away from eternity right now. And that's not a bad thing unless you're holding on to time and space. Unless you're holding on to the masked persona you've been holding on to for a long time. Holding on to the old maps. Because as those maps are being ripped to shreds, all of a sudden you're standing here and it's like, wait a second, the map is not the terrain. I can look at a mountain road right here where we are in Franklin in North Carolina, and I can look at one of the mountain roads on the maps and it looks like this. But then you actually drive that thing and it actually is more like this, isn't it? The map is not the terrain. We've got an innate guidance system. You have an inner GPS, but we haven't been paying attention to it because we're so obsessed with all the maps. We're so obsessed with the religion. We're so obsessed with having to measure up and be positive. Have you ever been around someone that just first read like The Secret or something like that? And then they were, oh my God, and let's just say this is The Secret. And they were kind of hiding around the corner when you would walk into the room. People do it with A Course in Miracles too. The little blue book. Uh-oh, mine's blue. Or the Bible, that's the black book. Unless it's one of those Gideon Bibles you take home from the hotels. Those are green. But they're sitting there and they're waiting for you and they're whack because they're so enthusiastic about what they've learned. And you start to wonder, did they actually read A Course in Miracles? Have they actually actualized anything in it? Or is it just that they understand the words in there? We're in a place now where understanding isn't going to help you. Knowing the next step will not help you right now. What will help you is allowing yourself to be open, allow whatever's voicing in the system to voice, and allow that to speak clearly through you without you getting in the way. How do you do that? Be aware of something called ruha, breath. Not spirit, which is a word Jesus never heard in his life. He never heard the word spiritus. It wasn't even around there at the time. What he heard was ruha, which means frequency or vibration, like this. And we had these great angelic New Age angelic frequencies for years. And then we asked for greater light, higher awareness, faster vibration, wider bandwidth, because we all wanted to be awake and live in this utopian society. So all those frequencies that were there, including the ones we couldn't hear, were no longer beautiful, crystalline, angelic tones and frequencies, but they're more like... And now we complain and talk about how harsh things are. But the reason they're harsh is now that the car is no longer going 40 miles an hour, it's going 120. You go 40 miles an hour, and you bump into something, it matters, but it doesn't quite matter as much as if you're going 120, does it? And you're not paying, I should hope you're paying more attention. Why did you laugh so much about that, Raymond? There's something in that. There's something in that laugh. I knew something was in there, but what I'm saying is, here we are, and we're told to be masculine and positive, and we're barreling all over everybody around us. And I'm not necessarily saying everybody in this room. When, as in the words of Robert Frost, I'm going to say the exact quote. He's been misquoted so much. He says, "We all dance around in a ring and suppose, while the secret sits in the middle and knows." That's what T.S. Eliot in the Four Quartets called the still point of the turning world. And we're so locked out here in the hurricane that we don't remember what's in the middle. Something really intense happened with weather last weekend. Where did it happen? Texas, right? You didn't know what happened on the other side of the earth, did you? In India, 1,000 times the casualties of what happened in Texas. The last count was about 1,500 people died in a flood in India. You didn't see that on the American news, did you? That is not saying anything about Texas. I've been all over Texas many times, and it's the kind of place when the water gets in, it's just going to go everywhere. It's not quite like the mountains where things just fall down. What I'm saying is we focus in on particular little things, forgetting that there's a wholeness, a holiness, a sacredness that's there right underneath our nose that can't be seen with the eyes by the two thieves with the Messiah in the center. This is opening up right now, whether you believe it or not, the third eye, the pineal gland, the amygdala, which is where the word Magdalene comes from. And I could talk about that for 2 hours. And the hippocampus and all these different glands in the body that are all of a sudden opening up and activating in ways they haven't been active in thousands of years. You can see it in the Egyptian writings. You see it in the pre-Christian Yeshua teachings before the men got a hold of it. Yes, I said men. But we have to open up to those places where there's the not knowing. In order to be able to, what I call, navigate the cosmic shift, we must allow ourselves to let go of everything we think we know so that the source of knowing itself can live through us. And that's what we're here for. We are the grounding rods. We're not here supposed to construct the new earth. That's not a new earth. It's yet another brain earth. You've never had an accurate thought in your life. Changing your thoughts will not change your life. It changes your perception of the dream that's not real in the first place. Stop obsessing about thought. If you come back to the source, to the still point, thought will recalibrate itself. You don't need to hammer and paste it. That's an illusion, because as soon as you affirm it needs to be fixed, in Shakespeare's word, there's nothing wrong nor right, but thinking makes it so. As soon as you say you're having, in the words of Zig Ziglar, stinking thinking, as soon as you make that acknowledgement, now all of a sudden you're going to recreate the very thing you're trying not to feel. That's why all your shame and your guilt and your fear and everything is up right now, and it feels like that whether you realize it or not. So I just have a quote that I like to end with from my book. I feel like I'm about 3,000 degrees right now. There's so much energy in the room at the moment. I shouldn't have worn black. Actually, I love the black and I love the white. See, now I didn't think about that. It was on purpose. We've got the book back there on the table. We've got a few copies with us at least. So I very clearly see, much like Yeshua, that true life comes not simply from what is clearly known, but rather maybe even more so from the great mystery, from the vast expanse of non-knowing. From the clear, pure depth of what we do not know. We must remain open to those eternal forces which do not fit within our very limited idea of five senses of taste, touch, smell, sight, and hearing. The echoing voice of eternity is not heard with the ear, but rather felt within the heart. In truth, even our 5 commonly accepted senses is a misnomer. As psychology has long embraced, anybody study psychology? How many senses do we actually have? That psychology acknowledges 21 senses, or more individual and unique human senses, yet the fact of only 5 human senses lives on as a modern folklore. What I'm saying to you is this. There's no amount of thinking that you've got things figured out or you need to recreate your life that's going to allow the new earth to come through. The new earth comes through when you let go. But what happens when you've got that balloon and it's about to burst and it's about to burst and it's about to burst and you feel kind of like this? What are you probably not doing? You're not allowing things to just happen. Maybe the burst is what needs to happen. We were brought here to navigate the cosmic shift. We were brought here to be the grounding rods for humanity. We were the ones that were brought here to be able to stay open to allow these shifts to happen. But that's not going to happen if we are trying to somehow force that from our limited, teeny tiny human perspective that it can only pick up a sliver of 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 a sliver ad nauseum of the whole. It doesn't happen here, it happens here, from that place of pure frequency and vibration. When I bring ourselves back to awareness of the movement of air across the skin, back to the beating of the heart, back to the rise and fall of the breath, and just allow ourselves to be in that space and allow that essence to create purely and wholly through us, that's when we're going to really see the new earth. It's not seen this way, it's seen here. And you get here by putting your hand on it and just being aware of it. Try that. It's already here. It's just, what are we doing? Are we still holding on to the old paradigms where we're trying to create the new earth? Or can we just realize that it's already here? Just get the hell out of the way. Literally. So in the words of Isaac Newton, we stand here on the shore picking up a shell here and a pebble there, while the great ocean of truth lies in stillness before me. Thank you for being open. Namaste. Amen. Thank you. It's always awesome to be here.
For more information about Dale's work, including books, audio and video programs, live appearances and retreats, his in-depth one-on-one mentoring program, and to join the Dale Allen Hoffman email newsletter, please visit www.daleallenhoffman.com. Thank you for listening and for your support of Dale's work.
Now is the time, and this is the place. Here is a call to the human race. We are the